It is time to sous vide some meat. I'm going to do a roast today. We have a bottom round roast here. Usually a pretty tough cut. You got to go slow and low on these kind of cuts. They have a lot of connective tissue, a lot of fat content in there. You see that big seam of fat in there. We're going to essentially break all that down. Break down all that fat, collagen, connective tissue over the course of, I'd say, at least 12 hours in the sous vide bath with our circulator. We're also going to be doing it with some vegetables, just like a roast, but we are not going to turn on our oven at all for this roast beef. It'll be like a nice Sunday roast. We're going to start off by cutting up our veggies. We'll start off with a carrot. And we're just adding these as basic mirepoix, things you would add to any roasting pan, enhance the flavors. Now we're only going to do this at like 142 degrees Fahrenheit, so our vegetables are not going to be completely cooked, but they will impart some flavor. And we're going to be sous videing some potatoes, carrots, and some other veggies to add to our final roast dish. Really, I'm just giving these veggies a nice, pretty rough chop. Again, we're just using them to impart flavor in as we cook it for that long extended period of time. Carrots, onions, celery. Throw in those leaves and throw those out. There's plenty of flavor in there. Also got 2 cloves of garlic. I'm just gonna give those a little smash. Release all those oils. Let that flavor go around. Also, we will be putting in some herbs. We've got thyme, bay leaf, fresh parsley. We'll be adding some peppercorns, a little bit of tomato paste to our post-sear, along with some red wine for deglazing and getting all that beautiful fond off the bottom of the pan. So we have our veggies ready. Clean off our knife here. Sanitizer. Now we need to season the meat too. We want to season it, and we're going to sear it before we put it in our sous vide bag and start cooking it, doing something that we like to call the Maillard reaction, which is basically a reaction between amino acids and sugars in proteins that give you that nice roasted flavor, that nice roasting grilled beef flavor and aroma that you would get if you were cooking the steak in, they say, a cast iron or doing it on a grill outside. So we're going to liberally season this. This is a pretty big piece of beef. Get a nice even coating of salt and pepper. Okay, got that. Meat seasoned, veggies ready, aromatics coming over. Got everything set. Moving on now, we're going to do our pre-sear before we put it in our sous vide bag and get it in the bath. So you can do a pre-sear or you can post-sear. I prefer to do a pre-sear for the longer cook times, especially with this one since it's about going to be a 12-hour cook time at least. We'll pre-sear it. That means all that flavor we get and develop from that nice crust is going to be imparted the entire cooking time. So make sure you have a nice hot pan, and we're going to just sear it. When we're searing, we don't want to move it around too much. We're going to get a nice, even crust over a pretty high heat right now. I do like to use cast iron. I feel like it gives you a really nice crust, really good type of pan to sear in, develop those flavors. And when we're going to add our vegetables and herbs and our tomato paste, we're going to deglaze. Everything's going to lift off of this really well and nice. It's going to give us a nice braising liquid to add to our sous vide bag. Checking it every now and then, see if we get a sear and just a little longer. Got to be patient with this. We really want to develop the flavors. Don't want to rush anything. It'll be well worth it. Okay. So while that's going on, we're doing this sear. I'm going to flip it over. Sear on the other side. A nice browning on there. Nice little crust. All right, our beef done. Nice roast. Look at all that juice and cooking liquid. Remember from those few ingredients we put in there, carrots, onions, celery, a little bit of tomato paste and red wine. The meat still kept a lot of its original weight. You have a really good yield when you do sous vide. Now we want to make a sauce out of this, capture all those flavors. We're going to reduce it. We're going to use that to sauce this dish. We also have our sous vide vegetables. I did the red skin potatoes, a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper, along with the carrots. I added a little bit of thyme and olive oil. Cooked these at 185 degrees for about an hour, hour and a half. That means every piece of this carrot, whether it's this tiny little skinny part there or the thickest part, is all cooked exactly the same. It's another nice benefit of sous vide. So we just got to sear those off. First, we're going to get our beef out of this bag. Take it out. I'm going to let it rest just a little bit. And remember, we pre-seared it to build those flavors. Got that nice color. And now we've got to take this juice. We're going to reduce that. It's already pretty thick. We're just going to go down a little bit more. Make almost like a demi-glace out of it. And we have all those flavors developed from our mirepoix, red onion, tomato paste, garlic, fresh herbs. Everything you want to build good flavors in a sauce, especially for your roast beef dinner, maybe your Sunday roast, trying to impress some friends, taking it over to grandma's house, who knows. All right, we're going to get this on the heat. We're going to bring that up. And while that is reducing, we are going to work on our veggies. Now, they are all cooked perfectly. We cooked them sous vide. That means all we have to do is reheat them. We're going to do a little sear. Take out a few of our potatoes. Do a few carrots as well. We have a couple pearl onions, a little bit of garlic. So, we're going to start bringing this sauce down. We're going to add a little bit of oil to our pan. Okay, we're going to get that nice and hot. It's going to start to shimmer. Okay, you can see our sauce is starting to come to a simmer almost. Okay, our sauce simmering, reducing away. Our oil is hot in the pan. We're going to add our potatoes first. Bring in a nice even layer. So we can get a little color on these. We're trying to get the color on the potatoes, trying to recreate a nice roasted potato. We've sous vide them, so we know they're all evenly cooked, perfectly cooked the whole way through. Every piece just as tender as the other, all seasoned perfectly because they've been in that vacuum bag with the butter, the salt, and the pepper, so also don't need to re-season. Okay, while those work, we're going to add our carrots and onions. Woo! And just trying to get a little bit of color on these. Our sauce is reducing nicely. And I'm also going to add a little bit of butter to finish our veggies. Yeah, I consider this a little bit. Not too much. There's a lot of vegetables in there. And start turning these over. See that nice golden brown crust forming on the potatoes. I also have a little clove of garlic in there to add a little extra flavor. I cooked the carrots with a little bit of thyme, so we've got that flavor profile in there. It works quite nicely together. Okay, I'm just going to reduce this and let these cook down a little bit further. You know what? Why don't we go over to our little herb garden over here and throw in some fresh rosemary, maybe. Just a little bit of that in. Make sure we're getting that butter all distributed over everything. Infusing that butter with the rosemary or whichever herb you'd like to put in it. Okay, we're just going to let those cook down a little bit more. And we're going to let our sauce reduce. Okay, our veggies are done. Nice and brown, got a nice color, that flavor on there. The roast is ready. Let it rest just a little bit. And our sauce is nicely reduced here, about by half. It's what we call a demi-glace, which means half glaze. We just took our beef stock, beef jus in that bag, reduced it by half, made a little demi-glace. Now we just gotta figure out how we want to put it all together. So we'll take our carrots, and some potatoes, just add a little fresh parsley here. Throw some pearl onions in with everything. Okay, now take our knife. Just gonna slice our roast beef. Still a little bit pink inside. We sous vide this at about 142 for 12 hours. I'll still retain a little bit of that pink juice. Again, turning this tough cut, this relatively cheap cut, into a nice, tender roast that eats like a real nice steak you would get at a nice fine dining restaurant. But again, just takes time, a little bit of patience, and just a touch of effort there at the end. Okay, we've got that ready. Now we're just going to take our sauce, come over here. You can see how nicely reduced that is. Go ahead and sauce our steak. That nice consistency, looking for that nappe consistency, which means to coat the back of a spoon. finish it with a little bit of parsley. There you go. Roast beef, potatoes, carrots, pearl onions, beautiful flavors. Nice dish for a Sunday afternoon. Thanks.